Oh, here's a good thought. It doesn't pay to it doesn't seem like it's a good idea to try to be cooperative with people with their thoughts or will, because like my mom, she had this idea. Oh, why don't you buy a pink charging cord for the phone? Because I like pink, and then I'll give you the other cord that you bought that you like. Because I bought my mom this cord that I liked because her cord broke. Her cord wouldn't stop charging, I guess. So I was like, I'll just buy my mom a new cord, and I liked it. It was like mint green and like lavender purple, and I was like, this thing looks kind of nice. I was like, I'll buy this one. So she crimped it and made it look all twisted and shit. And then about a month or two later, about 3 months later, she's like, why don't you just buy me like a new pink cord, and then I'll give you the old one. And I was like, okay. I was like, I was kind of thinking like, why? The cord's all old and stuff. But I realized, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, right? So I was inside 99-cent store, and I'm looking at all the cords, and there was like, white and black and blue and everything, or yellow or green or whatever. Now I wanted to get the blue one. I was like, cool, I'll just get the light blue one or medium blue or whatever. Because blue was kind of like where I was at in my life at that point, because I was like on the beach and shit, on the ocean and stuff, and I was like, my life was kind of in the blue, and it's kind of like, feeling the blues and shit. And then I was like, I'll get that blue cord, dude. I bet that thing will charge good, charge the phone good. And then I realized what my mom was saying, like, get me a pink cord, and then I'll just give you my old cord. So that's the formula and plan I went with. So I come out to the car, right? I bought it instead of buying the one that I wanted to get. Like, I wanted to get the Duracell one, or I wanted to get the blue one or whatever, right? So I go out to the car. I'm like, Mom, I got you the pink cord. Remember you said you want a pink cord? I got a pink cord for you. For the pink phone charging cord. She's like, nah, that's not pink. That's like purple. Which she was right. It wasn't like straight up like pink, like fucking Victoria's Secret. It wasn't. She likes this color that's like white with like a touch of red in it, which is not really pink. It's more like some other name, like peach or some shit or beige. And I was like, oh, okay. Like I was supposed to buy this specific fucking color, dude. There's like one of Jesus's Easter colors, like, oh, one of the fucking 33 different fucking flavors at Baskin Robbins. Like I was supposed to know. You said pink, dude. So that means purple is like the color purple is usually a mix of blue and red. But this particular cord I got, I'll show it to you right here, has like slightly more red than blue. See right here? It has like, I guess you'd say it has more of the red spectrum in it, so that it looks more like a one. I wouldn't say it's purple. Purple probably has more blue than red, but so I was thinking if it has more red than blue, it's probably more closer to pink. But pink doesn't have blue in it, I guess. The color pink just has red and white in it. But anyways, so yeah, that's where I fucked up, because I bought a cord that had blue in it somehow, but it looked like fucking pink inside the store under the bright ass white lights. When you're under bright ass white lights inside 99-cent store, fucking some cord that has blue in it doesn't look like it has blue in it, you know what I mean? Because all you see this bright ass white light on this like light fucking dark pink cord. Basically, when you put blue into pink, it makes it like a dark pink or like a very light lavender purple. And I was like, my mom's like, no, that's not the right color. I was like, the only way I could have proceeded with that idea successfully is if I went in the store with my mother where they sold these USB phone charging cords. The USB is a bunch of bullshit anyways, because they only plug in one way. The USB micros, they only plug in one way. And the 9-volt charging cord for like cordless phones and mobile phones from like the 90s into early 2000s, like the Nokias and shit, those are basically like a cylinder. That means they can plug in a full circular spectrum, like in any direction. You don't have to look at the USB and then go, oh, do I have to flip it over and shit like that. It's like, I know about all these different fucking architectural aspects. Like with the USB-C, it only plugs in two ways. One half of a circular turn, or another one half of a circular turn the other way. But the 9-volt plug, or the guitar input jack cable, plugs in any fucking way. You know what I mean? Like you can plug in a full circular turn spectrum in any different direction, So it's like way better. And they've been selling this USB crap for like the last 10 years, and I've been fucking sick of it since the first day it started, It's like, why the fuck do I need a USB fucking input in a computer? Because of Microsoft, Apple, and Android? No, fuck that, dude. All I need is a fucking badass guitar amplifier. You know what I mean? Like, and I don't even need that, but I'm just saying, like, why the fuck would I go from a 9-volt plug or a 12-volt plug, something like that, that's perfectly round, that plugs in way easier, or a guitar input jack, like a headphone input jack, which plugs in way easier. It's like, well, they have a headphone input jack in the phone, so why the fuck they got this funny USB input? Because, dude, that's what it's made to make you look stupid. That's what this technology is all about. It's about making the user look dumb. You know, like, oh, they're fucking with the USB again. Because USB cannot transmit a lot of electricity at a high rate of speed because of the width or size of the cord and the weight of it and the way it has to travel through the USB. It's an illusion, dude. If you fucking were like, if you were those guys from like the band Boston or fucking some big ass band like Kiss or some shit like Metallica or like any big ass band like Van Halen or fucking what was that one band? Fucking like Leonard Skinner, dude. That would just plug in a fucking guitar cable and that'd be the end of it. I don't know to fucking buy no USBs and a new fucking Android smartphone this and Galaxy 7, S7, all this crap, dude. It's a bunch of fucking bullshit, dude. Then they've been trying to tell me about like these phone apps that are like Guitar Pedal. They're basically like effects processor phone apps. It's like, oh, all you gotta do is press your finger on the app that you want. Like, it's called, you know, Boss or some shit like that, or it has some funny name that's not like, it doesn't sound like Boss or TC Electronics or whatever that thing's called, Electro Harmonics. It's called some other shit. Yeah, dude. And then you're like, oh, all you gotta do is type in the name of the artist and the name of the song, and then it'll give you like the exact tone and all this shit. I was like, dude, God's not trying to give me that shit. It's just a fucking advertisement that's supposed to make me fucking beg and jump and fucking cry for some shit that's out of my reach, you know? And I was like, I don't want to waste time with that shit anyways. I just want to get some shit that makes me happy and pleasure, you know, satisfied. I don't need those extracurricular fucking ideas or detailed ideas that shit's not gonna happen. Because I said, what's the point of coming up with thoughts and ideas if you can't make it a reality or material reality? Or what's the point of having all these good ideas and thoughts coming through your mind? That's basically what the desires are. Like when you hear like Metallica singers say, James Hetfield said, Master, where's all the dreams that I've been after? That's like a desire. Desires are coming from God. So it's like, yeah, you put all these great ideas and thoughts in my head, but nothing ever happens, dude. There's no material reality there. It's just like, oh, I know how all this shit works, and I know it's possible, but there's just a bunch of crap over at Ross, you know, like fucking, you know, stupid shoes called fucking this, and they just make your feet get cut up, you know? It's like, or they make your feet too hot all the time. It's like, I'll put these socks on and these shoes, and it's like, it's not cold enough in California to wear shoes like that. These shoes aren't coming from some factory in California, I'm pretty sure. They're like piping all this shit on some truck and trying to like rob the fucking California people that are already overheated of all their little dollars. It's like, they pipe this shit in from like Chicago and shit like that. Or these fucking cargo ships from China and Japan, because it's cold as fuck in China, you know? It's like, they got all these like canyons and valleys and river valleys and shit, mountains and shit, snowy mountains. So they build all these like Nike Air Jordans and shit, you know? It's made for like 20-degree weather. I mean, yeah, that may not be reality. That may not be the truth, but it's the truth. Like, Nike Air Jordans and those shoes that are hella insulated, that have foam inside them and shit, those are made for, like snowy weather. Like, shit like Lake Tahoe, or, like, a cold, wintry night where it's all moist and shit, like, at 2 and 3 in the morning. Like, 3 and 4 hours before the sun's about to come up and shit. That's what those shoes are made for. California weather, dude, is made for fucking sandals. Like, it's hard to wear shoes in California, in Southern California. Anywhere from like San Francisco south, shoes is like, oh shit, I better take my shoes off because my feet are getting hot again. That's why most people have poor health in California from wearing fucking Nikes or something comparable to that, like Adidas or Fila or some shit, or Reebok. So I used to, I don't know, maybe that's not true because it's kind of an illusion. Everything's kind of, see, I came up with this theory that God can always change all parameters of the world at any time. So anytime you start to think a law is so fucking like cemented and solid like a rock, God can make everything shapeshift and change form like at a rapid speed. You know, like all the cars on the highway, how they're moving all fast and shit, and some are speeding up and some slowing down. That's exactly what all the little dust particles of the universe is like. So that's part of the reason, like why what I'm saying is only half true. You know, because things that I say are going to become false, and things that I say that seem false may become true. You know, based on the way God creates the architecture of the universe or reality. You know, I've thought about this times before. I was like, yeah, dude, God's totally controlling all the shapes and forms, you know. And like the example I had to say is, how do I prove this? How do I support this statement? Like how shit that I say could become false and shit that I say that could become true later is like I always think of the same example where it's like, oh, this guy wasn't a murderer, but they put him in prison for like 10 or 20 years when he was innocent and never murdered anybody, with that conviction on his record, like he's a murderer. And then when they let him out, he was like fucking pissed. He felt like, fuck them, dude, that's a lie, it's not true. So when he got out, he wanted to like murder the judge, or he wanted to murder the people that pointed the finger at him and said it was him and accused him of shit. So like, where's the fucking like, where's the person who murdered? You know, where's the witnesses? And they're like, they didn't have none of that shit. They just wanted to make that guy like disappear. You know, but it's not a true story, because God wouldn't do some shit like that. There's just no reason. You know, like God just doesn't have hate like that. God has nothing but love, because God's all powerful, dude. God doesn't have to hate, because there's no reason for a consciousness that strong to hate, you know, because everything is God. Then the God consciousness doesn't hate anything, because it's like everything's me, nothing can hurt me. That's the thing about God consciousness. God doesn't feel pain. God doesn't feel anxiety, because God's never going to die, never going to get hurt by all the illusions that go through humanity's mind, you know. People are always worried about getting punched or kicked or hungry or starving or weak or can't protect themselves because they're not big enough and strong enough like this big guy, you know. That's basically God just holding the youth down, you know, or the children down, or the small people. It's like, that's just God, like, basically putting you in your place, you know. It's like, oh well, you just gotta do what the big fucking dog says, pretty much. Sometimes, you know, it's like being a Chihuahua or a poodle, and then there's like a pit bull or Rottweiler. It's like, you just gotta fucking put up with this shit and get out the way, because sometimes a fucking freight train rolls through, and it's like, you could either fucking try to move against it in the speed that it's moving at, or you could just fucking move out of the way, and it'd be like, oh, that was fucking a lot easier, you know. It was a little bit of work to move out of the way, but once you did, it's like you avoided a lot of pain. It's all about avoiding a lot of pain, you know. Fucking one of the things I realized is me being the youth, me being that boy, that child, and God being like that fucking land shark, that pit bull. It's like, well, I don't want to be over there in that place. Like the poodle or the Chihuahua, which would be like my character, should be over here, you know, in this fucking safe place, you know, where those type of, you know, people live, you know, you know, it's fancy ass neighborhood, you know, where you're like fucking playing your guitar and shit and bullshitting with your friends, you know, smoking cigarettes or something. But then these pit bulls, they come out of the creek, you know, they come out of the rough fucking river somewhere far, far away from civilization, and it's like, oh shit, these things don't blend, you know, they come from different corners of the world. These are different ideas, you know, they come from way far away. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to mix me in, like this domesticated fucking Labrador. They're trying to mix me in with all these fucking river dogs, you know, all these pit bulls and shit. And all they do is they just fucking, like, fight and find out who's the fucking alpha dog, but they all just end up getting beat up and hurt and all miserable all the time, you know. And I'm like, fuck that, they already know it's God, you know. The only thing is, I think that's how they try to hide it. Like, that's how they try to hide God. They're like, okay, well, God will just keep shape-shifting visual images, and then we'll just keep on losing and winning fights, you know. So then they can never pinpoint God. You never know who God is and where God's at, because God's faking the losses. Like, God's losing fights, acting like he's losing fights, and he's thinking, damn, I could have totally killed that dude, because God's the controller of life and death, you know, or the giver and the taker, you know. God's giving and taking and moving shit around. That's the shit that's been an illusion in my life all this time, dude. I always thought I was doing something, like driving a car on shit, and I found out God was driving it the whole time, Like, I was like, oh, I thought the key was starting the car, and like, I thought it was working all the way my dad told me. My dad told me, oh yeah, you turn the key in the ignition and it starts the engine because it puts the electricity. All that shit's a lie, dude. All of the 1,000 parts that a car has in it, they're all lies. God made them up. Like carburetor. Look at the word carb. Like it's a part that's supposed to put gasoline from the tank into the engine. If you rearrange the letters, I seen that on the peanut butter Captain Crunch box. If you rearrange the letter of carb, it makes the word crab. How often do you see a carburetor in a crab? Have you noticed that a crab's like the same size as a carburetor? It's like this little fucking like 1 foot square kind of shape. So it's just that easy, dude. God's just on the beach one day and it's sick ass little fucking Corvette or whatever he has, some kind of fucking like roadster fucking thing. Some dude, some homeless boy walks down the road, Highway 1 or whatever the fuck it was, and he's like, hey, that's fucking cool ass car, like, what is that thing right there? How does the gas get in there? He's like trying to question the shit so he could fucking build his own. Or have his own shit. Or want to know how it works. How does the shit move? How does the shit move so easily? It looks so effortless. It's because God does everything easily, it's effortless. Man, toiling and laboring and shit at work, that shit's fake, dude. That's just so that God can just fucking do stunts in his Ferrari and make everybody else look like fucking idiots and dumb. Like my mom was calling me an idiot. But, yeah, like crab and carb. Rearrange the letter R and A, reverse those, like left to right. You see crab and carb, and then that's exactly what God did. Like, that's how God came up with the name for the word carburetor. He's just like, the kid said, oh, what's that thing right there? What does that do? He's like, oh, that puts the gas in the engine. And then he's like, what is it called? Like, he thought everything. God didn't make a name for all this bullshit that he was, all the visual bullshit he was bullshitting people with. They were just made to look at it, you know what I mean? Their minds are just made to perceive God's artwork. God paints a picture, then he wants all of the idiots to look at the image, right? And then they're supposed to get some kind of thought in their mind. The thought of the idiots is always the question. The idiots have the question, God has the answer. Because God God created the question, which is like the idiots, right? The people that aren't God. So what happened was, the kid was like, what is that thing? He's like, it's a crab. He said crab, and he said, what did you say it was? He changed the word crab to carb. It's a carb. And then it was just like carburetor, whatever. Transliteration, fucking slight fucking language shift. Fucking nobody ever knew nothing. They think that shit's like solid. They go to the auto parts store, Kragen, AutoZone, O'Reilly's, whatever they had before that. Main Auto, fucking Pep Boys, Grand Auto, whatever the fuck they is. This is like every 100 years. They used to have auto parts stores before those ones that seemed like the name brand shit, Like they used to have Sears, they used to have JCPenney or Montgomery Ward. Like that used to be the main shit back in the day. Now it's not the main shit, Now the main shit's like Marshalls or Macy's or something. I'm always fucking thinking about history and fucking like trying to find truth and shit, and that's how I keep focused. See, when people always focus on counting their money and what they're gonna get to or what their destination is, it's always like what they're gonna buy with the amount of money they have, and that's living your life in blindness and illusion. If you were thinking about the shit I was thinking about, like, oh fuck, God's controlling everything, and we're just like the audience, God's controlling everything and shaping the world. Like, if you look around me, like I'm seeing these lamp posts and shit, I didn't make those. I didn't draw those out on a piece of paper or tell anybody to install them here. God just poof, magically they're just there in that shape. God just created this thing like a playground so that the kids could come fucking walk around and go, oh wow, this place is cool and nice. Oh, and if you have some money from somewhere, you can trade it for something cool to take home, like some Adidas or some weird shit like that. It's like, seems kind of strange, but it's like, oh, it's better than the old days, the old-fashioned days where you're not God. It's like they like living in a world where they think that they're God because, oh, that's what humans are, I don't know, dude. There's a lot of ideas and thoughts I have in my head about ultimate truth versus blindness or false realities. But see, that's the thing. I interact with a lot of people that have ideas in their mind that are just basically wasting my time because I'm like, nah, dude. I gotta get on my God consciousness, right? So I gotta get on God, get my eyes focused in the right direction, right? Because I don't want to miss the pleasure Like, if I was looking over here when God showed me some shit that looked hella nice over there, I'm gonna miss all the pleasure. I'm gonna be feeling the pain. Where do you think all the wrinkles and the wrinkles in my eyes and the like strain in my eyes is from looking at the hard ground and just seeing nothing that brought me any pleasure. It's just seeing a lot of shit that brings me pain, like cold stones, bright ass light, like the sunlight in my eyes. Like, I just see bright ass light in people that are just like, neglecting me and ignoring me, and all these bricks and shit, like all this shit that was supposed to be created to help someone that wasn't me, you know what I mean? And just like my eyes are just straining the whole time, like, what is all this shit in my way, you know? Like, what is it that I need, or what is it that I really need? Because what I found out is what you really need is not the same as your desire. Your desire is what God's telling you to go for. It's like God's inspiring you to go smoke a cigarette. It's like cigarettes rarely make you feel better. They rarely make you feel like in pleasure. So it's like I notice I usually smoke cigarettes when I'm feeling painful feelings, like either sadness, stress, or anger. Those are weak feelings, dude. God doesn't feel those. God's supreme. God doesn't feel anger, stress, or sadness. God's like, I'm fucking all-powerful, supreme power. There's nothing that could make me sad, stress, or any of that shit, because, dude, it's like, it's the fucking root of all things, you know what I mean? There's nothing that's gonna come against that entity or consciousness that's gonna cause it misery or pain, because it's too strong, you know? It's everything else that's not that root of consciousness that feels pain, you know? Like the little kids with the fucking dirty diapers and shit, you know? Feeling the acid in their poop, you know? Like, fucking, it's like, oh no, man. There's so much shit that I know about that people rarely think about often. But I remember all the things I used to think about when I was blinded by money and drugs, when I used to live in a suburban neighborhood environment where they're always trying to preach about money and like, we need money and drugs and shit. And I was blind to the truth all the time, dude. I never thought about God. I always just thought, like, when am I gonna get something, you know? Like, when am I gonna get to something? I always just thought, when am I gonna get to something that brings me satisfaction? And it was like, my friends would always just come over with like cigarettes or weed, and then sometimes alcohol, and I'd be like, this shit doesn't really bring me that much satisfaction, but it brought them a lot of satisfaction for some reason. But I think the reason why it didn't bring me satisfaction, because I'd already had that so many times. I was like, I've already tried all this shit. It doesn't really make me that much more happy. It just feels like God makes me sick, because God doesn't want me to have anything to do with it. Like, God doesn't want me to partake of it or have that to be part of my life. So it's like, when I drink alcohol in a large amounts, I start getting sick, and like, it just makes me feel sick, you know? Just probably because God needs more of it as like jet fuel, you know? Nah, can't be giving away all this octane and shit, because I need that shit for my Ferrari or my Jaguar or whatever, or my fucking Lamborghini, like the real one, like the fucking F1 Le Mans version, you know? Not the fucking little ones that they talk about on MTV or fucking YouTube, like the ones that they don't talk about on MTV and YouTube that's like top secret. That's just the one that God shows up in when they think they're winning, you know? Like, God's like pulled up and wants some car that looks like some kind of like snake, or like some kind of lizard, like some amphibious lizard thing, like hella smooth and slick and like aerodynamic as hell, and then just fucking goes by them and shit, and then like just see some car shoot off like the fucking flash of light, and it's gone, and hear some weird sound that sound like some car they never heard before, dude. It's not a Lamborghini, like in those music, it's not any of that shit, because all those cars are Honda Civics. They're kind of like comparable to, like, they're about the same weight and value of like a Honda Civic or a Toyota Camry. How do I know this shit? Because I've looked at them so many times on TV and seen them in real life and shit, and looked at all those different metals and plastics and rubbers that they're made of. That's exactly what they are. But they sell you, oh, these are worth $250,000, dude. It's fake, dude. Basically, those Lamborghinis that they have, like the Murcielagos or whatever the hell they're called, and these new ones are the same shit. They're made out of the same plasticky aluminum materials. Those are the same materials that they make the $30,000 Toyota Camry or Honda Accord out of. You know, they sell that car for like $22,000, $35,000, and it's the same amount of material. It's like 3,000, 5,000 pounds worth of rubber, plastic, and aluminum and iron and glass, maybe a little bit of chrome. But they charge like a lot more because they just get some guy that's unknowing that has some good job that pays a lot, that's in some comfortable lifestyle, to pay his car payment on it. It's like $1,000 a month. Oh, we'll give him $5,000. Then God's just like, this dude doesn't know shit, you know. I'll give him $5,000 a month to give me back $1,000 for a hella nice car that's only worth $30,000. I'll tell him it's worth $250,000 or $275,000 or $175,000. It's just like all fake, dude. They're just numbers. There's only 0 through 9. And then that's it. And then they just connect them together and say that it's different shit. It's fake as fuck, dude. I don't see why they couldn't see, like, I could see past all that shit when I was a little kid, when I was like 6 years old in kindergarten, when they were trying to preach that shit to me. And I was just like, fuck these lames, these old people trying to lie to me. They're trying to tell me, like, when you connect 0, 1 through 9, like left to right in different orders, use more values. Like, this shit's so fake. It's just little marks and symbols on a piece of paper. Then I was always thinking, like, I need a motorcycle, you know, all my life. I was thinking, like, I need a motorcycle or a bicycle or a badass car and get the fuck out of here, you know? Like, get on the highway. These English people are lying to me like crazy. And then, but, yeah, 175,000, 2,000, 100,000, like, that's the shit that they're putting on VH1 and MTV. It's like, this shit's a wasting time, you know? Like, oh yeah, and then, so your payment's $1,000 a month, and you get paid $5,000 every month, so then you have $4,000 left over. It's like, oh, what does this mean? This means this dude's gonna become some kind of fat ass drug addict, right? Because he gets a badass car and he has too much money. He's gonna get to too many McDonald's too fast. Then he can't fit in this car anymore. He has to buy like a Ford F-150. Dude, that's who those guys probably are. Like, I always see those guys. One day they're in some Lamborghini with barely any legroom, and then, you know, like a year later they're in some Ford F-150 thing. It's like, because the Lamborghini was getting to all the McDonald's drive-thrus in a hurry, you know? And when they were not in their Ford F-150, they're in like police fucking Interceptor or police Ford Explorer thing. They don't have a name, dude. God has them just like controlling the world, you know? They're not like me. They're not like some street kid that's just like very intelligent and sees through all the bullshit, dude. They just do what they're told, like a fucking computer, dude. All these cops are like android fucking robots, dude. God just tells them what to think. He programs their mind, and they believe the lie, dude. Otherwise, it's pain, right? Basically, it doesn't matter if they want to believe something that's a lie or untrue or not, because if they don't do that shit, well, how do you think God controls the world? I was thinking about this yesterday. I was like, this is a very good topic, dude. That God is controlling the world with fear of pain. Then it's not controlling the world with fear. Fear is what links their conscious mind to pain, which is like, oh, that's death. That's like physical injury. That's telling them, oh, you're moving in the wrong direction at the wrong speed. You know what I mean? And it's like, but I was like, that's kind of strange to me. I was like wondering, like, if everything's God, why would God be controlling God's self with the fear of pain and pain? I was like, that seems. That was my question. I was like, if I want to get to the definition of truth, like, why is God controlling things with pain and fear? And then I was like, maybe God's not doing that. Maybe humanity's doing that to the rest of humanity. Like, the older generation's doing that to their children because they know that their children are God, you know? But then I was like, and they're like, fuck this. Like, I don't want this fucking God controlling me. I was thinking about like this. What I was thinking, I was like, why wouldn't God control everything with pleasure? Because they came up with this idea of like, a lot of parents, they don't like what their kids do, so they hit their kids and cause their kids pain. It's called a spanking, or like a whipping, right? They'll say, oh, I don't like your behavior, so I'm gonna whip you with a belt or spank you, and then you don't like the way that feels, so you'll change your behavior based on the fact you don't want some kind of result like that to happen. So I was like, but then they came up with this idea that they brought to my mind, to my consciousness, like 15, 20 years ago. It was like, well, you don't need to do that. You just need to reward behaviors that are desirable. Like when the kid does something that you like, say good job and give him like a cookie or give him money, you know, give him something that the kid will enjoy even more. But a lot of times parents are poor. They don't have rewards or resources to give to their children, you know. When their kid does something that they like, that they enjoy, they're not able to motivate their kids to do that more often because it's energy that the kid will have to expel in order to accomplish that, and they don't have anything to give them as a reward because God has all the wealth. God's controlling everything. So basically, God's making it possible for people to live in happiness or misery, like based on how much He can give to the parents that can give to their kids, and like if the parents are poor, then the kids are miserable, and if their parents are rich, then the parents could possibly share with the kids and make the kids happier. But if they don't share with the kids, and the kids are miserable because they're thinking, my parents have all this wealth and they won't share what's wrong with them. They got too much and they can't even use it all. And they got like 20-car garage, and they can only drive one car at a time type idea. But that's not even where it's at either, dude. I found out where it's at, dude. It's all in pleasure, dude. All of the thoughts and ideas and desires and motivations that go through your mind is all a waste of time, dude. That's all God trying to make you dance. Like, I was listening to that Megadeth shit, and he had that song, like Marionettes, and I was learning about the ventriloquist and the marionette and the puppet master. The marionette is the puppet master thing. It's like how he holds the crucifix, and the crucifix has the 4 sides that control 2 arms and 2 legs, and the way it works is so the ventriloquist is like telling you what to say, and then the marionette is like telling you what to do, like your actions, so physical actions. So one of them motivates you on the sound you make, and the other one motivates you on the physical movements, like the dance. So yeah, the marionette's like, that's like the physical movements. That's like what you see visually and materially, and then the ventriloquist is like controlling the words. That's the English language or the Spanish language or Chinese. That's like the ventriloquist. But even those things are lies. Oh, that's just a thought that's not that relevant, because those ideas, like Chinese language versus English or Spanish language, those are all the same language. They're all just sounds, right? They all use English letters to describe. They haven't come up with another name for these letters that are in this alphabet, like A through Z with H, and then all these numbers, like what? And then when you break it down, like I did when I was a kid, I was like, oh, there's 0, 1 through 9, so there's like 10 symbols there, and then it's like A through Z was like, I think it's like 32 or 28 letters. I started using that shit as fast as I could, like boom, A1, like fucking A1 and Z this, and that's how they come up with all that shit, like Z8 BMW and all this kind of shit like that. They can fucking spit this shit out at high light speed, and all of a sudden they're controlling the world. They're using these things that they're using technologies that God came up with 200 years ago, like numbers and letters, and they're using this shit. BMW's using that shit, and Mercedes is using that like crazy. Like all they do is mix letters and numbers together, and they tell you it's like the greatest shit ever. When people fucking drop $80,000 in their hands, boom. Like, oh, okay, I'll put a fucking $20,000 down payment and kiss your ass for the next 10 years. Like, I'll give you everything, every last penny I work for. Kiss your ass for the next 10 or 20 years just to drive this vehicle. I was like, fuck that, dude. There's not that much pleasure in that shit to give a shit like that. Not with the amount of money that they're giving me and my friends. They're telling me my friends will give you like $5 an hour, And then it doesn't even come out to that. If I was getting $5 an hour for the amount of shit I was doing, dude, I would have had a shitload of money. Like I was working like 20 hours times $5 an hour, dude. That should be a lot of money. That should be like $100. That shit wasn't working out. I had to get some little number on there, like $100. Like, fuck, dude, a month went by. And then like another month went by and I only got $100. Like, I need to go fucking far away from this place and see what I can find. All you'll find is cars on the highway just driving right past you like a robot, dude. With these like miserable looking faces like they're dying, It's like, damn, dude, that's not the right shit. That doesn't look like these happy little kids that drive their little remote control cars from Radio Shack on Christmas Day, That doesn't look like those little kids from the fucking movie The Christmas Story, or those kids in that movie fucking like Stand By Me or some shit like that, dude. Like, that's the real shit, dude, where they just fuck around all day, like on the beach in Santa Cruz. Like, that's like what makes life really fun, because that's reality. All this other shit, pumping gas and spending money and driving on the highway at a high rate of speed, that's just being fucking along for God's ride, dude. Because that's where God's at, dude. God is all that. The strongest parts of God is all that rock and all the stone and all the metal. That's like at the core of God. You know, what do you think's under the ocean? All the water, rocks and mud. Fucking trees and plants are made out of rocks and water. They're made of dust and water. So then that means that at the root of every tree and bush and plant is water and rocks and dirt, minerals. That's what the world is: water, mud, and electricity. And all the plants and trees is just part, like some different shape and part of that. That's why nobody ever sees God, because God's moving at the speed of light. See, everybody thought they had astronomy and astrology figured out. I was only homeless for 10 years. They talk about all these like fancy ass stories, you know, like I was homeless for like 90 years, you know, I just went through all these different countries and shit was crazy. It's like, well, you don't have enough details to make it a good story, buddy, because I was only homeless for 10 years. And look at the information I have. I was realizing that the Earth doesn't orbit around. The Earth doesn't orbit around the sun. The sun's not in the center of the universe, dude. What is the word what's the definition of the word universe, dude? That means one. Universe means one, or like world. World means the same as the word one. It means like God. It means like everything that you know. It's everything. It's a consciousness. So that means that when they're saying all that shit in those like science classes or astrology classes, they're bullshitting, dude. Like, oh, the telescope is and all that bullshit. No, dude, it's just what was inside your mind that they put inside your mind. They implanted that shit inside your mind and you believed it. You thought, oh, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's smart. Smart's doesn't even have a definition. It's another illusion. Like, you wanna know the truth? The Earth does not float around in some airy space around some sun. You wanna know the truth? The sun is just inside your mind, and when the sun goes down, it goes inside all the little lamps inside your house and inside the lamps around the city, like the street lamps. Because you notice the street lamps didn't look like they're lit up or bright when the sun was shining up in the sky. That's because they weren't lit up and bright because all that light wasn't up in this all together packed into that ball of light up there. It's like fire, you know, like they took all the fire from, say you had like 20 candles, and you took all the fire from the 20 candles and put it into a fireplace. You put all the 20 candles out, but you lit the fireplace. Say you lit a fireplace with 20 candles, right? So you have 20 candles that are lit, like stick candles, right? The kind that go in a candle holder, like chandelier thing, or I don't know what the hell they're called, candelier. And then you lit this paper and this wood on fire in the fireplace, right? With the 20 candles, right? You use one. You don't really need to use 20 candles, but for some reason you use 20 different candles while you're lighting it. You switch to 20 candles, right? And then you put each candle out after you used each candle to help light the fire, light the paper and the wood and shit. And then the paper and the wood start catching fire and burning, like rapid dehydration, and like changing it. Basically, that the fire is like rapid dehydration, rapid dehydration, hydration, slash changing molecular or chemical balances and shape, adding moisture, taking moisture away, or changing the shape of the molecules or some shit like that, changing the form, and adding the electricity in the fire to make it bright and shit, stand out in your mind. Okay, so yeah, what's before electricity? Magnetism? Gravity? I don't know. But what I'm saying is you put the 20 candles out. After you light the fireplace with it, where do you think the fire went where do you think the candlelight went that was in the 20 candles? It probably went into the fire, right? Because now those candles are out. Those candles are out and they're in a candle box or some shit like that. Or they're laying on the side of the fireplace mantle thing or something. That's what I'm saying. That when the sun goes down, it's not like the world turned and now the sun's over here and there's a wall, like a lampshade veiling it, it's a lamp behind some wall. No, dude. So it's everything just changed in your mind. Your mind just changed. And God just took all the fire from the candles and put it into the fireplace. Or took all the fire from the fireplace and put it into the candles, dude. They just changed the damn movie to a different one. They were watching Scarface. Then they went into some Dazed and Confused shit. Or they were watching Dazed and Confused. Then they started watching fucking Scarface or Cheech and Chong. And these people want to watch all these action thriller shits, but how often does that shit happen in daily life in the suburbs, you know? That's where they watch television, right? That's what you gotta realize. If you want to be a good movie maker, you can't be making all these Superman action sci-fi shits unless those people are like, oh, I liked it because it made me forget about like the boring ass suburbs and the fucking I like the alternate reality. No, I was thinking I like movies like that seem like that boring ass life in the suburbs, but you know, because it connects to your life. You're like, oh, this shit's realistic. It could actually really happen where I live. All that shit like Thor hammer and all that shit like the X-Files or whatever, like the aliens this and the fucking X-Men and shit. It's like, dude, how often do you see some fucking superhero dude that's like jumping 50 feet high and doing all these fucking maneuvers, you know? It's like Batman, Superman shit. It's like, I don't want to waste all that time with that shit because that shit rarely happens and I don't have the ability. Magnetism, electricity, gravity, all that shit's what subdues, and it's like that's what impersonates man. Like, if you want to know what makes man idiot or servants, what makes man a servant or an idiot is gravity, electricity, and magnetism, dude. That's God's main power. Like other than like heavy metal and rocks and shit, which is basically the core of everything. When you mix heavy metal and rocks with that firepower and that electricity, that's what makes gravity and magnetism. Like being thirsty, that's exactly what gravity and magnetism is. When you feel like your throat's dry and you need water, that's exactly what gravity and magnetism is. It's like any other, if you do anything other than search for a drink at that point in time, you'll be miserable because you'll be like, this don't feel like pleasure, it feels like pain. That's exactly what I was talking about when I was talking about like controlling with fear of pain. Like basically the longer you don't get a drink of water, the more you're gonna feel the pain. And so that was what I was talking about when I was saying people aren't born to die, they're born to live. How do you know? Because if you don't live, you're gonna feel too much pain. It's like, nah, fuck that. Then I did these long shits. Like I was walking like 100 fucking miles for water, you know, just because if you want to live in fucking like Santa Monica, you only got one option, and that's basically like living on the sidewalk. And if you don't want to live on the sidewalk and you're getting bored of that shit and you just think it's a boring ass repetitive lifestyle, you only got like a couple options. You either walk east, north, or south, unless you like swimming in the ocean, you know. And fucking you're like walking through the sand and swimming in the ocean and shit with the sharks and the fucking octopus and the fucking jellyfish or whatever the fuck they got out there, stingrays. But I was like walking like for days, and from fucking Santa Monica to Oxnard, there's no fucking water except like maybe a couple like waterfalls. If you're lucky, you might find like a little water drip coming up the mountain. But yeah, there's like a good 30, it's probably like 70 miles. From Santa Monica to Oxnard, there's like 70 miles of coastline highway. Maybe a little less, I'm not sure, but it'll take you like 3 days to walk it at like 2 miles per hour. And I traveled a few times, and there's no water out there. You won't find any water to drink except the beach, ocean water, and that shit could sometimes be too salty, make you feel even worse. Like, I just feel like I drank too much salt, and I'm gonna be even more dehydrated later when the sun starts shining. All that bright ass sunlight, fire, and electricity mixed with the salt, which is like solidified fire and electricity inside your body system. It's like that's not the human chemical balance. So then your skin will start getting all dry and fucking like burnt feeling, and it'll your throat will start feeling all like fucking miserable. It'll be all salty and fucking basically it'll be like this. It'll be like too much fire, not enough water. Too much fire and fucking dryness and not enough water. And that's why people always go for fresh water when they're feeling dehydrated, because what causes dehydration is salt, because salt is a solid minus the water hydration. That I'm pretty sure that's exactly what those like, those like Gatorades are, or those zero waters and shit. They're just like a less salty water, basically, is what they are. Those things like, water wetter or like cool it. They're like, oh, it's for your car radiator. All it is like the least amount of salt inside the liquid as possible. They try to take as much salt out of it as possible, and it makes it more hydrating and less like dry. It's like the most liquidy type of liquid. the most. They talk about thick and thin, but I guess they have this other word like viscosity. It means like how quickly the liquid changes forms. That's a good definition for it. How fast the liquid can change shape or form. But yeah, that's how you know it's more like watery. I call it liquidy or watery. These scientists, they think they're so fucking smart. They think that word would sound. They'll tell you in public school or something. Oh, that's stupid. You don't say liquidy or watery. That's not the smart shit. But it's like, well, then you fucking come up with a better word. What are you gonna say? Viscosity or fluidous? I don't know shit, dude. It's all about what you know and what you don't know. It's not about how you say it, It's like just knowing it, It's not about how you say it and make the sound that you make to describe it. It's about just knowing or knowing it or not knowing it. A lot of times I can't tell people anything that I know because they'll try to use it against you to make you more miserable. Like if you tell somebody, oh, I need some water, what do you think they're gonna do? They're gonna go collect all the water nearest to you and take it to themselves and try to sell it to you for $1 that you don't have. You know what I mean? You're like, I need some water. Do you know where I can find some water? And I'll be like, oh yeah, it's like across the desert 10 miles that way. And then they'll have you working like a slave, Like, oh, if you fucking give me $5, I'll give you a snow cone and all this bullshit. It's like, might as well just keep your mouth shut and just fucking stay searching. Just keep your mouth shut and just keep on the lookout, you know what I mean? Like, just keep praying, Keep your mouth shut and just keep praying and hoping and wishing. That's what I do. It's been working for me for a while now. Oh, one time I fucking, God fucking took my breath away, and fucking, I was wondering, why can't I breathe? Why is my body starting to hurt, and why am I having trouble, like living? I didn't know why. I was just like, I can't breathe. I feel like I'm dying. I was like trying to wave at cars on the side of the road, and then I just stopped walking. I was just standing there, like thinking, I think I'm gonna die right now. I was like 10 years old. I think I was like 9 or 10 years old or some shit like that. So they said. That's what the adults around me told me. But I was standing there like, I think I'm dying. These cars aren't stopping. They're just looking like it was some little human body, like some little. I don't know if they thought I was a child or what I was, but I was standing there on the sidewalk, little path on the side of the road, and I was trying to wave at cars and shit. Like, I was thinking they need to put me in their car and take me to some place where I can get food or water or something, because I was like malnourished little kid, all skinny and bones and shit. I guess you could say I didn't have enough water, but I don't think that's really what it was. I just think there was too much heat, and all of a sudden God just took my breath away for a second, just to fucking put me in pit lane, basically is what it was. It was like, if you were the winning race car driver and you got a flat tire or you ran out of gas all of a sudden, then you're not the winning race car driver. And that's kind of how it was. I was like riding my bike down the road and I felt fine. I was like, oh, I feel fine. It was just a little bit like a hot, nice, warm day and shit. I was like, no problem. Keep riding. And I was starting to strain a little bit, like, damn, this is hella far. I've been riding my bike for a long time, right? The distance back then was nothing compared to how far I walked or rode bikes like today. The only reason why it felt like it was strenuous that time is because God was causing me a lot of pain back then that I wasn't even aware of, It was just controlling my movements a lot. But I rolled up to, after I stopped for a moment, I was able to catch my breath. So, okay, just walk really slowly and gently down the street to this next, pit stop place. It was like a Chevron gas station. It's not even there anymore. They changed the world, the shape of the world already. It doesn't even exist in my mind. But I remember if I was going to say this is where it was, I would have been able to tell you I was right here. But I was over there, and this guy came out of the garage, and he's like, what's wrong? I said, Dude, I don't know. I think I need water, dude. I feel thirsty and I couldn't breathe. I think because, and the dude came up with this word called dehydration. I never heard of that word before. He's like, you're dehydrated. So what's that mean? He's like, it means you need water, dude. And this dude, yeah, that dude was probably God. You know, it's like how would I know that, or how could that be true? Doesn't matter, dude. This dude moves at a high rate of speed. He wasn't there at first, and then all of a sudden, when I tried to pull to the gas station, it didn't seem like anybody was at the gas station. I was like looking for like water hoses or water taps and shit like that, and I seen a thing that looked like that. Put a quarters in and pump up your tire kind of deal. You know, like I was like, dude, what is this shit, dude? I don't have no quarters, dude. You know, like I just need a fucking water, you know? And he's like, all we got is this one right here. It's like the one you fill up your radiator with, you know? It's like next to the air hose. And I was like, that's fine with me, dude. It's water, right? As long as it don't taste bad. It's like, as long as it don't taste like some weird shit. Then I just drank that shit for a little while, and then I just took off. So, fucking, I rode my bike some more. I never used a water bottle for years. I used to just ride around my bike, like, thirsty and, you know, thirsty and fucking just ride my bike from water fountain to water fountain, shit like that. If I got really bad, I'd try to find like a garden hose, but not until I was like probably 30 years old. I started using like those little water bottles, those 16-ounce bottles or whatever I could find. Just because when you're on like coast highway, like on the ocean, or when you're on some crazy highway you never been on, like in the forest, like in the mountains and shit, they don't have fucking water lines. It just doesn't exist. They have trees and rivers, and a lot of times they have fences that block you from getting to those rivers. There'll be guys with rifles and shit. It'll just be way too much complication and fear of pain and people attacking you because you're on private property and all kinds of fucking bullshit, lame experiences you could go through. So it's like if you just get a water bottle, you can save yourself a lot of problems because you could fill that water bottle up at some area like some that's not fenced off or private property, like a water fountain or like a gas station or something, or at someone's house, or you could go stick it in a creek or a river somewhere, and then you can just put it in a backpack or throw it in like a bicycle basket or like a bicycle bag, you know, like a bicycle rack or something, or even a water bottle holder on the bike, and then you can ride like 20 miles, like 20 ounces of water. Basically you can sum it up like you need like an ounce of water per every mile. Like an ounce of water a mile will probably do the trick, but I'd say like I went probably 300 miles. I probably went 300 miles on like 50 ounces of water. I don't know what that would average out to. Like if you took 300 miles and said, okay, I drank like 60 ounces of water in 300 miles, what's the math? 300. We'll just make that 3. We'll eliminate that down to 3, and then we'll take 60 ounces and we'll split that 3 ways, and that gives you 20. So that means it would be like 20 ounces for every like 20 miles. So it's like an ounce per mile, I guess. I don't really know if that's right. It's all an illusion if you think about it. It took what it took, but let's pretend like that's true. Let's pretend like I went 300 miles on 60 ounces of water. So how many ounces of water would that have been per mile? Or how many miles would that have been per ounce, you know? They'd be like, okay, 60 ounces of water in 300 miles. So, I'm thinking 60, you divide 60 by 3 and you get 20. So yeah, it's like 20 ounces for every 100 miles, I think. Yeah. It's like 20 ounces of water for 100 miles. So yeah, I was going, you could say I was going probably 100 miles on a bicycle on like about a bottle of water, like those bottled water, they say they're 16.9. It's like, why 16.9 all the time? Why not just like, you know, back in the old days, they used to have those Pepsi and Cola bottles. They were always they'd always either say 18 ounce or 20 ounce. The 16.9 ounce water bottle came out in like year 2005, I think it was. Those bottles started showing up around like year 2000 a lot. I remember that, and then they became like the norm. Those water bottles, I remember my dad going to Walmart and shit back in like year 2000, around the time I went to high school, and he's like what? I was like, what the fuck are these, Dad? Why the fuck are they putting water in these like little bottles that are like these weird sizes? And he's like, I don't know. They fit in your cup holder, I guess. And I remember my grandma used to buy water bottles that looked like that, but they were like larger size. She would buy these ones that were like 30 ounce or something like that. They're called like Evian, or like Calistoga or like Arrowhead or some shit like that. They'd be like 20 ounce bottles or some shit like that, or 20 or 30 ounce bottles. But yeah, those 16.9 so 16.9 ounce bottles. It's funny that those came out in the year 2000. Now, a lot of people think about that, but back in the day, I remember like in the 90s, like when Tupac was on MTV, you'd go to the liquor store, where the Indians guys always man the counter, and you'd have either 18 ounce bottle of Pepsi or a 20 ounce bottle of Pepsi. One was called a large bottle and one was called a big slam. The 20 ounce one, they called it a big slam, and the 18 ounce version, they call it the bottle. It was like there was only two choices: you either get the bottle or the big bottle, and then the big bottle is like it is like a third of a liter or some shit like that. But if you're smart, you know what it is. It's not the number on the bottle. It's what you know it is. You know what I mean? It's like if you got a gallon of water, that's a safe. That's probably a safe move. But if you're like, I got a 16.9 ounce bottle, that's this thin, wrinkly plastic, that's probably not a safe move. If you had a water truck that was full of like 1,000 gallons, that'd be like a winning chess move. But if you had a 16.9 ounce bottle that was cut in half, that'd be like, oh no, that's not gonna work, dude. The water's gonna spill out of that in a hurry, and then it's just gonna absorb into the ground or the dirt or the bushes, and you're gonna be out of water. So if you have a 1,000 gallon water tank with a 1-inch thick solid metal wall that contains it, you're gonna have to have God curse you. God's gonna have to curse you. Like straight up, God's gonna have to be like thinking directly about your mind and persona and be like, fuck that guy, and then you're just gonna have to take all the water away from him and be like, it's like, that's what it's being wealthy or rich is. It's like, how do you know if you're wealthy or rich? You'll have something that seems really significant, like a lot of some particular item or thought. Water's a thought. Sports cars are thought. If you have something that seems like a very powerful sports car thought, or a very powerful water thought, like a big ass water tank, or expensive, fastest Ferrari, then God will show up and he'll take it away. And then that's how, like, a lot of wise or a lot of knowledgeable people will say, oh, I must be doing big things if God showed up to take from me, Because why the fuck would God show up to take from me if I was poor, It's like, oh, I was blind, dude. People are robbing me left and right. I'm giving to the poor while people are trying to jack me. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I've been feeling for a while. Like, I've been feeling like I'm homeless. I've been feeling like I'm this guy that they criticize and I'm homeless and shit. But at the same time, I'm giving, like, my food out of the garbage to other homeless people or people that have homes while people are trying to beat me up and rob me. And I'm like, damn, dude, I'm hella rich, dude. I know a lot of shit. That's where the wealth is at. It's in the knowledge, It's not in the money in your pocket type shit, dude. It's like, but it's fucked up because as much as I'm willing to give away that I have, nobody's ever gonna give back because they're all God, Everything other than the individual self is God, and that means that as much as you give away, no one's ever gonna repay you or give you back. God's consciousness is always self-serving, selfish. It's always gonna be like, so what if you gave me something? I'm God. I don't have to give you shit back. You'll have basically you'll basically have to be in severe pain and misery, crying before your friends or your family will help you. So they don't acknowledge anything except like, oh, about to die, Oh, they're about to die. Okay, we gotta give them some water or some food, just keep you barely alive,